After cycling over 120 kilometers alone through the Negev Desert, my journey to Saudi Arabia rolled on. I'd made it to Mitzpe Ramon, a city that sits on the edge of an ancient crater overlooking the desert. And after a few days on the road, I'd already experienced a ton of hospitality.
Selfie! Thank you everyone, this is awesome!
Dealt with an infuriating bike chain that kept slipping off, and struggled to acclimatise to the heat and desert conditions.
Whoa, I feel really faint.
But I was now mostly recovered and refreshed, and prepared to cycle further north. My next milestone was right back where I started, Tel Aviv, on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea, almost 300 kilometers of cycling away. The planned route would take me to a rural Bedouin village, on to an Orthodox Jewish community for the Jewish festival of Sukkot, and to the largest Bedouin city in the world. And all of this standing in the shadow of a military occupation. So here's where I need to add a disclaimer, and you can skip to 3:14 if you've heard me say this before. Following the brutal 2023 attack that killed 1,200 people in Israel and saw nearly 250 kidnapped, and Israel's devastating invasion of the Gaza Strip, over 40,000 Palestinians have been killed and almost 2 million displaced, leading the International Court of Justice to rule that the population of Gaza is at imminent risk of genocide. But Israel has ignored international pressure and UN rulings to limit its invasion and bombardment of the Gaza Strip, and has since expanded its invasion to Lebanon, a major escalation in the war. This episode was filmed before the war in Gaza, but I know now is a weird time to be publishing videos like this from Israel given the circumstances. My goal through these videos has always been to learn about everything from culture to conflict in the places I cycle through, and present that to you, whoever's watching this. I have covered the war in Gaza and its impacts on Palestinians in 2 videos on my channel, and I will continue to cover the occupation of the West Bank in the future. But I am releasing this series mostly in the order that I filmed it. So this particular episode is not about the war. Instead, treat this video just as a glimpse into what this journey through Israel and Palestine was like before the war. And keep in mind as you watch it that it does not reflect the gravity of the situation today or the suffering millions are enduring in the occupied Palestinian territories and now Lebanon as well. Now with all that context in mind, back to the video, where I was pressing on through the Negev Desert.
Chain's popped off again. This is what happens to my hands when I have to mess around with the chain. What am I supposed to do with this?
With my bike chain still driving me insane, I focused on my surroundings, still trying to get used to the vast expanse of the open desert. And I was noticing small clusters of homes dotting the roadside and further out into the desert. They belonged to Bedouin families.
I've cycled past quite a few Bedouin communities today, hoping to learn a bit more about them while I'm here.
The Negev Bedouin are an indigenous population here, descended from nomadic Arab tribes that moved across from Egypt, Jordan, and the Arabian Peninsula. And my day was about to take a turn, because it wasn't long before I met Hani at a roadside cafe.
What's the name of this area?
Bir Hadaj. My village is Bir Hadaj.
After a bit of chatting, he invited me to his hometown, Bir Hadaj, for lunch. Now lunch very quickly turned into us spending the entire day together. He took me to a building he called the Sheg, which is a kind of meeting and guest house, and introduced me to his uncle, Salame, over tea and coffee.
No women, only men.
Only men.
Men come here.
And
This same name the sheikh, in Arabic sheikh. Only men come here and stay and drink coffee and tea and talking. No problem, only men come here and talking and finish the problem.
Every
day.
Every day.
Finish work, has come to home, has come here in the night. You come here, many people here.
it's good.
Good. You're welcome in Bir Hadaj.
How many animals do you have?
4.
4 animals.
4. 2 horses, 2 camels.
How old are they?
4 years.
4 years, okay.
Live 3 years.
After showing me their family's animals, we headed back to the Sheg for more coffee. And to say that coffee is a big part of Bedouin culture is an understatement. Hani showed me a traditional, rhythmic way to crush coffee beans. The idea is that people can hear you preparing them and then come and have coffee with you.
Whoa, that's really heavy! What the-
And there are special rules for coffee drinking. Here I am messing one up already, by accepting a cup with my left hand instead of my right.
3 more, you drink.
Okay. So there's like a rule. 3.
Drink, you drink 3.
If you coming the Bedouin, you need drink 3 cups. 1 cups for the guest. Another coffee for the security. Another coffee is everything all right.
So 3 coffees.
And the coffee is little, small.
And another rule, if you're given a cup of coffee filled to the brim, it means you're not welcome here. The Bedouin custom to welcome a guest is to offer half-full cups of coffee, which, fortunately, is what I received.
I want to go England. I want to take my coffee.
Yeah.
And no milk. I want to take the coffee Bedouin from my house, my sheikh.
Yeah.
My sheikh take this from England.
To England.
As the day drew on and it became clearer that I'd be stopping here for a while, I changed out of my cycling shorts into something more modest. These trousers were a gift from Salame. Bedouin culture is very conservative, so if you visit a Bedouin community, it's worth dressing accordingly. I spent the evening chatting to my hosts about Negev Bedouin identity and culture.
I am Bedouin, live in Israel. I have passport Israel. I feel Arabic Bedouin, Palestine, but I live in Israel. The Bedouin is many clan. In Israel, clan العزازمة, التياها, إقديرات, ترابين, another clan.
Wow.
2.5 ولا 1.5.
So you eat this mansaf with your hands, which I'm finding kind of difficult. There's a bit of an art to it. So I've been hanging out all day in the Shek here with the people who have hosted me today, which has been really lovely. Salame is here, Honey's here, and now I've got a huge plate of fruit, which is going to fuel me for tomorrow. There's been a lot of talk of snakes and scorpions, which I'm a bit nervous about.
Some of the residents of Bir Hadaj deal with the venomous wildlife here with a very old, traditional Bedouin folk medicine, that was given to them when they were a baby.
I take the scorpion on the fire, take that in the milk, my mother, the ash.
Yeah.
I take them, I have vaccine.
And the same for your children.
And my children.
If you are stung now,
I feel pain, but pain خفيف 50-50 pain.
The scoper is touch me. Ben 550. Don't go hospital.
thank you so much, Shukran. This was amazing.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So this is where I'm staying, in the shek, which we were all having dinner in. I'm really nervous about scorpions. They said there shouldn't be any here because the cats keep them away. There's one over there. But hopefully the scorpions will stay away because of the cats. But I know I'm going to struggle to sleep knowing that they're out there.
You're not scorpion on the sleep.
Not,
In the dream, not see scorpion.
not in my nightmares, no.
Early the next morning, Hani drove me back across the sand to the roadside near where we'd met, and I got ready to cycle into a totally different culture.
Bye-bye!
From this Bedouin Palestinian village to an Orthodox Jewish community for a religious festival.
Wow, the landscape has changed a lot today. It's not desert anymore. It's quite refreshing to see some green finally.
From where I was cycling, the fields I was passing didn't seem out of the ordinary. But they were. Because this was the closest I could get to the Iron Wall, the barrier between Israel and the Gaza Strip in Palestine. All of this was filmed a year before the Hamas attack and Israel's invasion of the Strip, so things were very quiet here. At this cafe near a viewpoint, the atmosphere was strangely normal. And that normalcy was uncomfortable. This was a feeling I'd have regularly around Israel and Palestine, because within Israel's recognized borders, before the war, you could be less than a kilometre away from a military occupation that violates international law, and yet, if you don't stop to look for it, you'd never know. The violence and suffering in the Palestinian territories is so localised to specific areas that even today, on social media, you can see videos of people partying at bars in Tel Aviv right next to a brutal invasion of the Gaza Strip. The occupied Palestinian territories and Israel may geographically be side by side, but the reality of life in each of them is worlds apart, something I wouldn't truly see firsthand until I reached the West Bank a few weeks later. Compartmentalizing the occupation this way means that most Israelis can go about their lives without seeing what life is like in the Palestinian territories at all, creating an enormous disconnect between Israeli and Palestinian populations. And the same is true for most tourists visiting, unless they go out of their way to visit Palestinian areas.
You see a huge wall between Gaza and Israel. The whole thing is walled off and fenced off.
There are 2 episodes dedicated entirely to Gaza on my channel where you can learn more. For now, with no way of knowing what would happen a year later, I simply kept cycling. As evening approached, I made my way to Shuva, an Orthodox Jewish community, for a special Jewish festival. Sukkot is a kind of Jewish camping festival of the harvest, where practicing Jews spend the week sleeping outside in wooden shelters called sukkahs. And I'd also happened to arrive on a Friday, the Sabbath.
The sun's basically gone down, so I have to turn off my phone now because during Sabbath you're not allowed to do anything that's considered work, and that includes operating electronic devices, stuff like that. So the camera goes away, phone goes away, and I'm just going to see what happens for an Orthodox Sabbath.
Because of those religious rules, it wasn't until the following Saturday night that I could film again.
So now we are doing a Havdalah, which means that we're going to separate the holy days of Shabbat from the ordinary days. So this ritual, every Saturday night we're doing it, and after that we can eat and go to our daily stuff that we do.
So that marks the end of the holy and the start of the...
Yeah, you have to separate it in order to, to go, to transfer yourself to the regular days.
Interesting.
Spiritually.
Hello, Chaim.
Hello.
I went to Chaim's for lunch today, which is really, really cool. He's been teaching me a lot about Judaism, specifically Sukkot and Sabbath.
That's right. A lot of fun. L'chaim.
L'chaim, and thank you very much for having me.
It's our pleasure. The idea of Sabbath or Shabbat is creation, right? Hashem took 6 days to create the world, the seventh day he rested. So anything which is considered creating, you shouldn't do. You might think it's a lot of hard work to take like a heavy table with your friend and take it up and down the stairs like 7 times. But technically it's not really work. You're not really creating anything. But if you want to take that table outside and you're moving it from a private domain to a public domain, that would be considered work. The definitive list, I mean, I could look it up for you. I don't remember offhand, but like writing, dyeing, knitting, threshing, a lot of these things we don't even think about today, but back in the day it was
Dying.
important.
I thought you meant dying.
Yeah, you shouldn't die. It's forbidden to die on the Sabbath. Yes, yeah. You're not supposed to kill other things, so we don't kill chickens for food on the Sabbath. But most people don't do that on an average Tuesday as well these days. Right.
So that's a bit about the Sabbath, the holiest time of the week in Judaism. When it comes to Sukkot, there's a deep dive video about this Jewish camping festival on my channel, so I won't go into detail again here. But the weekend was full of dancing, singing, and food. With Sabbath over and Sukkot drawing to a close, I drifted off to sleep on my last night here to the sound of praying echoing around the camp.
Wow, they're still going. So I've just woken up here in my tent to a lot of singing from people, I think, who are praying up at the other end of the camp.
As everyone was gathered in a makeshift synagogue in the middle of the camp, I packed up my things to set off once more, heading for my last stop in the Negev Desert, Rahat, the world's largest Bedouin city.
It's a big uphill ahead.
This was like cultural whiplash. In just a few days of cycling, I'd gone from a rural Bedouin Palestinian village to an Orthodox Jewish camping festival, and now I was heading for a Bedouin city.
I have made my way to the outskirts of a city called Rahat. The Israeli government wanted to modernize the Bedouin, and they built towns and cities for them to move into, to try and sort of forcefully integrate them with Israeli society. And Rahat was the largest of all these cities.
This was not an altruistic move by the Israeli government, though. In large part, it involved removing Bedouin populations from their ancestral land and cramming them into an urban environment, something very alien for a culture that developed in the vast open desert. Israel created a small area called the Siag, or permitted area, where the Bedouin were allowed to continue building their own villages. And alongside those communities, the government built 7 cities, including Rahat.
So I'm in Rahat, the largest Bedouin city in the world. I'm going to spend a couple of nights here, I hope, so that I can learn about Bedouin culture in the city.
There's not a single hotel or hostel in Rahat, so I'd been generously offered a place to stay by a local family.
I've just got to my host's place here in Rahat. I think I'm staying here.
And that meant I had Mohammed as my unofficial guide. Again, you'll find a deep dive into Rahat and the challenges faced by the Negev Bedouin on my channel.
Oh. Who's shooting? Like, is that going to be like 2 families?
Yeah, it's 2 families, but I don't know which. Oh yeah, get used to it. We can't sleep without it. It's like our lullabies.
So all that is in a separate video. For now, I enjoyed the rest, some fantastic food, and sleeping in a bed for the first time in a while. The hospitality I experienced here was just as incredible as in Bir Hadaj. I'd end up spending 4 days here, and on my last night, Mohammed drove us out of Rahat to a hillside overlooking the city.
Let's go where I know. You're getting enough air. We're gonna get this high a little bit so it won't burn. Like this. Fire is high.
It's moments like these that make all the pedaling worthwhile. And I appreciated this moment of calm, while bracing myself for what I knew was coming the following day.
Bye, Mohammed.
Goodbye, man. Goodbye. Have a nice trip.
Thank you. I am leaving Rahat. I've spent a few days here, and now I'm off to attempt the longest day of cycling that I've ever done in my life. Today, I'm headed to Tel Aviv, which is 109 kilometers away. My 109 kilometer day, and my gear, the cable's gone super loose. Don't know if you can see it here. The end came off here. I have just no idea what I'm doing here, and I'm completely guessing, but I'm hoping this is gonna work. I managed to get it back in here. I think that's how you do it. How tight should they be? Oh man, they should be way tighter than that. I found some help to borrow some tools here. Thank you. Ta-da, ta-da. I can't believe I'm learning this from YouTube tutorials at the roadside. Ta-da. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, back to the road we go. Oh my god, I can't see anything. All that dust. There's nothing fun about this, just a really busy road for the next like 45 kilometers. There are these horrible bits where I have to cross the road because I'm going this way, not this way. So these parts are really unpleasant and a little bit nerve-wracking. I've gone totally the wrong way on this main road, so now I have to cycle the wrong way down a highway into the traffic. Not ideal. 80 kilometers! I've made it 3/4 of the way. I still have so far to go. To celebrate my 80th kilometer, I decided to treat myself to a meal at a petrol station here. I'm just really wrecked. That's Tel Aviv right there! I'm actually at the outskirts of Tel Aviv right now after 85 kilometers of cycling. A 109 kilometer day. I can't believe I thought that would be a good idea. I've gone the wrong way again. I should be on this road here. So I have to go all the way back up here because it's split like a kilometer back. So annoying. Wow, I'm in Tel Aviv now. 93 kilometers down, and I'm here in Jaffa, in the south of Tel Aviv. "100 kilometers. I've cycled 100 kilometers today. That was knackering. There's no one around to celebrate with, but that was pretty cool. This is now officially the furthest I've ever cycled in my entire life in a day. Touring or not touring, fully loaded or not fully loaded. That is so far. I never thought I would do that in my first, I don't know, couple of weeks of cycle touring. I'm so close. The flat is just up there in all those buildings. Just 2 kilometers left to go. I've handled this not as terribly as I thought I would. Just up here. – 111.5 kilometers. Wow. Doing a makeshift Sabbath here.
I was back where it all started, and what I'd considered to be the adjustment or training phase of the trip was over, and I felt a strange feeling. From here on out, I didn't know when I'd next be in a place I recognised with people I knew. This sense of the unknown is as exciting as it is intimidating. But after a couple of weeks on the road and a 111-kilometre day under my belt, I felt just a little more prepared for whatever lay further down the road ahead.